Folks, I think that the Clintons may have paid a visit to Hotel California. What? What does he mean by that? Well, I'll get to that. And this kind of segues into it. First of all, I encourage you to go to shoebat.com, shoebat.com, right now, immediately, if not sooner. There is a piece about Hillary Clinton being tied to terrorism. And this could be quite explosive, because it's not over. But its title is Report, Hillary Clinton Tied to Terrorism. Well, we all knew about the Huma thing, the Huma Abedin thing, and we knew about, her all kinds of sordid details in her past. To quote her, I have a lot of baggage and people have been rummaging through it for years. I'm glad you like the impression. Wacko. But think about the Hotel California angle. I'll explain. Bear with me. You are listening to the Ben Barrack Show, News Radio 1400 KTEM. Go to soundcloud.com, type in my name, and you can get this broadcast whenever you want it. I come in this morning. Every week we got the Temple Daily Telegram sitting out front, and the one day that I need it, the one day I want to take a look at it, it ain't there. Maybe it'll show up sometime in the show. Our book signing at Naglaa bookstore yesterday with Lynn Woolley and Wes Riddle went pretty well, and they came out and talked to us. So anyway, we'll see what happens. All right. Hillary Clinton tied to terrorism. Just Google it. Report, : Hillary Clinton tied to terrorism. Now, what this stems from is an interview that the wife of Mohammed Mursi, the ousted president in Egypt who's been jailed, his wife, a lady named Naglaa Mahmoud. Naglaa Mahmoud. She apparently has given an interview to Anatolia Press. Now, we don't have the actual Anatolia Press source, but what we do have are multiple Arabic sources that are considered to be quite credible. For example, Al-Wafd, W-A-F-D, and Almesryoon, A-L-M-E-S-R-Y-O-O-N. We also have a television channel, Mehwar, M-E-H-W-A-R, that did a news report on this. And I'd play you the clips, but they ain't in English. We do not have Google Audio Translate in real time figured out yet, but hey. But I will quote from the transcript of what he said, translated into English by none other than Walid Shoebat. And we also know that there was a complaint filed with Egypt's Attorney General, just like the complaint that was filed against Malik Obama, brother of Barack Obama, for his ties to Sudan and Omar al-Bashir. The complaint number here, we have a complaint number filed with the Attorney General of Egypt against Naglaa Mahmoud, is complaint number 18337. And there is, as I mentioned, there is a video report online. You can watch it. We've linked to it in the story. Let me just read from the transcript in English, translated from Arabic, of this news report that's on YouTube from Mehwar TV channel. The guy's name is Nasser Kafas. He's the guy who gave this news report. This is what he said. Quote, According to Anatolia Press, Mahmoud, that would be Naglaa, said, quote, I have between my fingers a treasure trove of secrets from the White House, and Mrs. Clinton fears my wrath. Let me read that again. This is attributed to the wife of Mohammed Mursi. This is from Naglaa Mahmoud. Quote, I have between my fingers a treasure trove of secrets from the White House, and Mrs. Clinton fears my wrath. Good one. She said, quote, I will not speak about Huma Abedin. Naglaa said this. I will not speak about Huma Abedin. I wonder why. Maybe our suspicions, backed up by a, quote, treasure trove of evidence, were correct. That Huma Abedin is tied to the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, it's worth noting here, before I go on with this transcript, that Naglaa Mahmoud and Huma Abedin's mother, Saleha Abedin, are co-leaders in the Muslim Sisterhood. Co-leaders. 2 of 63 women. Back to the transcript. Mahmoud said, interesting word choice here, quote, when my husband returns from his kidnapping, the one who led the coup will pay a hefty price. Now, obviously, she's referring to the imprisonment of Morsi as a kidnapping, and the one who led the coup will pay a hefty price. That would be General Fattah al-Sisi. Of Mrs. Clinton, she said, quote, this is key. Of Mrs. Clinton, she said, quote, we have a long friendship of many years. We lived in the U.S., and my children learned there. This friendship increased further when my husband became the legitimate president of the country. That was Hillary. Mahmoud went on to say that they were recruited by the Clintons from the U.S. and began their friendship in the 1980s. This appears to be a conspiracy that is being hidden. And that is straight from Nasser Kafas at Mahwar TV. So from the 1980s, well, is there any corroborating evidence that may back that up? Turns out, looks like it. You see, Mohammed Mursi lived in the U.S. from 1978 until 1985. From 1978 until 1982, he worked on his PhD in materials science. Got it from USC, University of Southern California. He earned that degree in 1982, at which point he went to another college, and I know I have the name here somewhere, but it was another college, university, Northridge, Cal Northridge. And he worked as a professor there, an associate professor there from 1982 to 1985. Back to Nasser Kafas. When asked if they still have friendships with each other, Mahmoud said communications never ceased and that the conversations are all recorded. Really? Come on, Naglaa. How about if you cough up some recordings here? The wife of Morsi divulged that Mrs. Clinton seeks the assistance, both official and unofficial, of several members of the Muslim Sisterhood organization to help with problems in the Middle East. Quote, we also have routine business dealings with the Clintons. Now, she went on to say that her relationship with Michelle Obama is it's okay, it's good, but it's nothing like the very close relationship that they have with Hillary and the Clintons. Now, the reason for the complaint against Naglaa is that she is planning a coup, according to her own words, attributed to her by these outlets, that she is planning a coup. And she said, quote, "We are under the condition of war and jihad, and we have a good command of the necessities of war, the ancient and the modern. I will keep the tactics of war secret, because in Islam, war is trickery." It's what we've been saying. And then you go into the Al-Waft article. This is the other source, and this focuses more on the complaint that's been filed with Attorney General Hisham Barakat in Egypt. He is inspecting the complaint submitted by attorney Assem Kandil against Naglaa Mahmoud, the wife of ousted President Mohammed Mursi. The complaint accuses Mahmoud of being behind the waves of violence that have befallen the nation. The complaint goes on to say that she is planning a coup to remove the current government. The complaint requests that Naglaa be arrested and interrogated. Kandil, the complainant, the man who filed the complaint, also added that Morsi's wife is the main political operative and that with her are ladies from the Muslim Sisterhood who have been instructed to carry out these terrorist actions. Mahmoud is confessing that she is involved, her and her husband, also with the CIA. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and others reportedly carried on these relationships.
What difference at this point does it make?
Wouldn't you like to know? Talk about a bunch of nonsense. You would love for that to be the case. I mean, this, folks, this is big. This is very big, especially in light of what we already know. Now, this revelation that Mahmoud Naglaa's claim that the Clintons befriended her family in the 1980s while living in the U.S. is significant because she is a leader in the Muslim Sisterhood, as is the mother of Hillary Clinton's close aide. Now, here's another interesting angle to all of this. And what I'm about to tell you is demonstrably fact. I mean, demonstrable fact. In August of this year, in August, if you remember, Lindsey Graham and John, I don't know, McCain went to Egypt in the early days of August 6th and 7th, I believe, somewhere in that area. They went over there for the express purpose of getting Muslim Brotherhood leaders released from prison, to include Khairat al-Shatter, probably the top. He's in the top 3 of Muslim Brotherhood leaders in Egypt. He was the presidential candidate before Morsi took the role because Khairat al-Shatter had been in jail too many times. So al-Shatter is being approached by McCain and Graham. They're calling for all these Brotherhood leaders to be released. Why? Why? That was McCain. There, my friends, we need to release the Brotherhood. But why?
I don't know.
That's the problem. So they no sooner get back here, having gone there as emissaries for the Obama administration, of that I have no doubt. They come back here and they essentially find out that, hey, guys, they're not budging. El-Sisi's not going to do what you want him to do. So what happens? August 10th, Naglaa is out leading protests. And she says in her interview, this interview attributed to her, she says that the reason that she is the way she's doing these things, that the purpose of the demonstrations is to drain the resources of the police force and of the security forces of Egypt, al-Sisi's police forces. That's her intent, to drain those, and that she is actively seeking a coup to remove the guy who led the coup. But you know what else? And there is going to be a follow-up piece on this article. And what I'm about to tell you is going to be part of what's in it. You might remember that there was a Brotherhood leader arrested, a high Brotherhood official. Well, he wasn't high; he's just high up in the ranks. He was arrested. His name is Gihad el-Haddad, and this is the guy who mediated the discussion between Deputy Secretary of State Bill Burns and Khairat al-Shatter, because Burns went over there with Graham and McCain. Bill Burns went over there to try to get al-Shatter released. They met for 90 minutes. But the guy, Gihad el-Haddad, who's the chief of staff at the time to al-Shatter, tried to diminish the length of the meeting, saying it was only about 10 minutes. Well, it was later proven that was a 90-minute meeting, so he lied. El-Haddad, Muslim Brotherhood. He's been arrested. He was arrested back in September. But in addition to that, El-Haddad worked for the Clinton Climate Initiative, which is under the Clinton Global Initiative, the Clinton Foundation umbrella. Gihad el-Haddad, the chief of staff to al-Shatter. And as if that's not enough, el-Haddad's father, Assam el-Haddad, was a close aide to Mursi. So you have Morsi's close aide, the father of a Clinton employee who was the chief of staff to al-Shatter. Do you think this had anything to do with Bill Burns' meeting with al-Shatter? Do you think it had anything to do with John McCain and Lindsey Graham going over there?
I don't know.
I think it may have. I think it's quite likely. So you have Gihad el-Haddad as a Clinton employee. You have Gihad al-Haddad's dad as a Morsi advisor. You have Naglaa telling the world that her family and her husband were close friends with the Clintons, recruited in 1985, a time when both of them were in the U.S., recruited from Southern California. That's where they lived. You have the PhD of Mursi in a discipline, or in a, what is it, materials engineering or something. Bill Clinton, that's the wheelhouse of the Clinton Climate Initiative. That's the stuff they are involved in. And then on top of that, you have Naglaa's colleague, Saleha Abedin's daughter, working for Hillary Clinton as a close advisor. This Abedin, whom Abedin is the one person that Naglaa wouldn't talk about, went out of her way to say she's not going to talk about her. So I think what we have here is we have a situation. Actually, Hillary Clinton has a big situation where Hillary Clinton has entered a place where she can check out but never leave. If this first lady of Egypt, Naglaa Mahmoud, is telling the truth about her relationship with the Clintons dating back to the 80s. That ties Hillary Clinton directly to terrorism. Directly to terrorism. And one could argue that this compromised woman, if you can tolerate calling her that, Hillary, this compromised woman was compromised before she ever went into the White House. And all those acts of terrorism that happened during the 90s, and maybe even 9/11 itself, maybe she had some sort of a hand in all of that because she was compromised, whether wittingly or unwittingly. Now, these are reports from what we consider to be credible Arabic sources. Now, whether Naglaa Mahmoud is telling the truth or not, it would seem that a lot of other pieces of evidence, demonstrably provable facts, tend to bolster these charges in many ways. So, you had Mursi getting his PhD in materials science from the University of Southern California with his dissertation, High Temperature Electrical Conductivity and Defect Structure of Donor-Doped A1203. Those are from the Daily Trojan and another source that I don't have in front of me. He was an assistant professor at California State University, Northridge from 1982 to 1985. In 1985, Morsi returned to Egypt and began to serve as the head of engineering department at Zagazig University, where he's a professor until 2010. Now, that's not to be confused with Zigzag University, although that's something that the Clintons may have to start doing. Now, I told you about this Hotel Cal. This came on the radio the other day, and I was thinking about this stuff, and it just seemed to resonate with me for some reason. Because it's about a guy who's driving through the desert, warm smell of colitas. I guess that's the most potent part of a plant, of the wacky tobacco persuasion. Then he goes into what can only be described as a hotel of ill repute, a hotel of ill repute. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll are taking place in here, right? Talking about one of the people in there, the singer Don Henley from the Eagles, says her mind, talking about one of the women in the hotel, her mind is Tiffany twisted. Could assume that means she was obsessed with jewelry. She got the Mercedes Benz. She got a lot of pretty boys she calls friends. How they dance in the courtyard, sweet summer sweat. Some dance to remember, some dance to forget. So I called up the captain, please bring me my wine. He said, we haven't had that spirit here since 1969. Wine could be a metaphor for righteous. Jesus converted water into wine. We haven't had that experience, and still those voices are calling from far away, wake you up in the middle of the night just to hear them say, welcome to Hotel California. Such a lovely place, such a lovely face. They're living it up at the Hotel California. What a nice surprise. Bring your alibis. Bring your alibis. Your alibi. Why do you need alibis? Because you're going to do something you don't want people to know about. Well, as the old Russian saying goes, I heard last week, great line, with a lie, you can always move forward, but you can never go back. And if these claims about Hillary Clinton are true, I think we can say that she has been to the Hotel California. Go figure. Right through USC. Listening to the Ben Barrack Show. Come on back after the break. Let's talk about something important. That goes out to Hillary Clinton. Because, Hotel California, it's full of metaphors, but it's really about people having the goods on you for something you did you don't want no one to know. It's a dark place. It's evil. In fact, blackmail is part of evil. People who are interested in following the example of Christ and Christianity, they have no interest in blackmailing people. A little thing called conscience. They don't want to do that. They want to keep their word. They want to do the right thing. They fail, yes, in a lot of ways. They're not perfect. They never, true Christians never claim to be perfect. They claim to be incredibly flawed. They seek forgiveness. But they don't have any interest in blackmail and evil. And I sometimes wonder why people like John Boehner, I call it the Petraeus effect. Petraeus was compromised. David Petraeus was compromised goods. He could not do what was right, chose not to stand up for what was right because he was compromised. And when you hear the line in the song about you can check out but you can never leave, that doesn't mean that you can't leave the premises. That just means they'll always know where you are. They'll always have something on you. They'll be able to find you. They'll be able to destroy you. So you better do what's right. You better do what they think is right. You better not do what's right, because for your own self-preservation. That's what that's about. And Hillary Clinton, she's been there. And it doesn't matter what it is you're talking about. I have a lot of baggage, and people have been rummaging through it for years.
I have a lot of baggage, and everybody has rummaged through it for years.
It's a lot of stuff she doesn't want people to know. But this here is huge. Huge. In bed with the Muslim Brotherhood? We have two perfect examples. And now, looks like three. Saleha, Huma, Naglaa, Mursi, Jihad al-Haddad, al-Haddad's father, all this stuff. But, it's going to take leadership, which we don't have. We don't have Republican leadership. Right, John Boehner? Cry boy? What does he do? He attacks the Tea Party. He attacks conservatives. That goes back to what I was saying before. Conservatives have, and Christians, people that are on the right, they don't want to tear the man down. They just want him to do the right thing. There are people on the left who would tear him down in a heartbeat. But instead of going after, Hillary Clinton, the Obama administration, with incredible, outrage, Boehner reserves his outrage for the conservatives with this budget deal that Paul Ryan passed. The conservative movement didn't like it because it's smoke and mirrors. It's pledging to, it's going to save more money than before. We're going to save more, but we're going to spend less. Over 10 years, really? We've been down this road before, wacko birds.
I'm as conservative as anybody around this place.
Yeah, right. So here he's at a press conference. Marshall, if you could cue up number 27. This is John Boehner ripping conservatives, saying that he's very conservative. He has a problem with conservatives. Play it.
Frankly, I think they're misleading their followers. I think they're pushing our members in places where they don't want to be. And frankly, I just think that they've lost all credibility. You know, when they pushed us into this fight to defund Obamacare and to shut down the government. Most of you know, my members know, that wasn't exactly the strategy that I had in mind. But if you'll recall, the day before the government reopened, one of the people at one of these groups stood up and said, well, we never really thought it would work. Are you kidding me? I'm as conservative as anybody around this place.
Yeah, whatever. Can you imagine John Boehner going, are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
About Obama? Can you imagine him doing that?
No.
I can't.
Are you kidding me?
No.
John Boehner, are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
Where's the outrage for Obama? Boehner. Where's the outrage over Fast and Furious? Boehner. Where's the outrage over the IRS scandal? Boehner. Where's the outrage over the NSA scandal? Boehner. Where's the outrage over Benghazi? Boehner. Where's the outrage over Hillary Clinton? And what's going on with Malik Obama? Where's the outrage over these charges from Egypt that the Clintons are in bed with the Muslim Brotherhood? What about these charges? Boehner. No, he'd rather go after conservatives.
Are you kidding me?
And I'm done with this guy. I'm done with this guy. And I know, listen, you've heard this before. But I'm telling you that when I heard this at the time in January of 2010, that's when Boehner lost me. The crying. And I'm not talking about crying because you lost your dog. I'm not talking about crying because you lost somebody close to you. I'm not talking about crying tears of joy because your child won a blue ribbon. I'm talking about crying because you're not strong enough to do the job that you have been elected to do. And that was the case on 60 Minutes in 2011 when Boehner was talking to Leslie Stahl after getting elected to the majority in the House and would become Speaker. That's, well, play the whole clip. I think we have the whole clip here. You might remember, number 29. It's not just that he cried. It's the place he cried and what he cried about. Because in hindsight, what we now know based on this performance is that he knew he couldn't do the job. Because this wasn't outrage. This was white flag stuff.
I can't go to a school anymore. I used to go to a lot of schools. And you see all these little kids running around. Can't talk about it.
Why?
Making sure that these kids have a shot at the American dream like I did. It's important.
Number 28. This is back to his outrage at the conservatives. Where is this outrage with the Democratic Party? I never see it. I never hear it. I never hear of it. All I see is caving. This is 28. Boehner is actually likening you, the Tea Party, conservatives, to drunks. Go.
All the things that we've done over the 3 years that I've been Speaker have not violated any conservative principle. Not once. All the lessons I learned growing up are the lessons I need to do my job here. You know, I've got 11 brothers and sisters, and you have to learn to get along as a family, learn to get things done as a family. I grew up in a bar. You know, mopped floors, did dishes, waited tables, tended bar. And you have to learn to deal with every character that comes into place, all right? Trust me. I need all the lessons I learned growing up to do this job.
You know, he's likening conservatives to drunks. Now, say what you will. I don't care. Maybe this is a petty. Maybe the conservatives are being petty. I don't think they are, but let's just concede the point. This deal, this budget deal, is less than a drop in the bucket. It's a molecule in the bucket. And Boehner's reserving his outrage for the conservatives?
Are you kidding me?
No, you said it. Wacko. Listen how angry he can get.
Are you kidding me?
Did you hear that?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he's so angry. Where is that for other things, you wacko? Where is it?
I don't know.
Why? Why not? I'm tired of this.
Are you kidding me?
The Tea Party is declaring war on him. Or no, they're saying that he declared war on them. Jenny Beth Martin, Tea Party Patriots. Quote, Speaker Boehner thinks outside groups are the problem. Does he really think American voters who are involved in the Tea Party, who got him elected, should not demand accountability of the elected representatives? The Speaker's anger and ire is misdirected towards the wrong people. That's because that's what bullies do. Bullies attack those that bully them, that are instead of those who bully them. And I don't know what Boehner's deal is, but to get outraged at the Tea Party and ignore this huge mess of morass from the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton? Are you kidding me? Come on back after the break. Let's talk about something important. We're back. One last segment. Folks, there is a symptom here that there are a lot of people overlooking. A symptom of a much bigger problem. And that symptom is an unwillingness to go all the way on who Nelson Mandela was. Well, he's complex. He did some good things. He reconciled. He embraced Arafat. He embraced Castro after he was released from prison. He never repented from communism. He never sought reconciliation from Christianity. He was a pro-abort. All of it. It was deceit. What he did coming out of prison was for political expediency. Period. And that's something that I will stand behind, unlike the president. Well, he stood behind it, but it was a lie anyway, about period at the end of his sentence about health care. Mandela was not a good person, let alone being elevated to sainthood. It's been ridiculous. And of all these people that are trying to elevate him to sainthood, if they were matched on the other side by people who not only didn't do it, but were exactly as adamant that he shouldn't be, well, we might prevent the rewriting of history. But, conservatives like to, it's Joel Pollack at Breitbart is a perfect example. He was communist. He's a complex figure. I see the funeral today. If you saw the circus at his memorial all week, I mean, if that doesn't tell you all you need to know, I don't know what does. There was a flag being flown behind the podium where it was everybody could see it. If you're watching the speakers there, but there was people waving the Muslim Brotherhood flag from Egypt behind this guy. Then you had the guy with the sign language that he was making no signs and no sense. He's got all kinds of crimes in his background. They got Jacob Zuma, you got Barack Obama shaking hands with Raul Castro. And then you got him hugging on Jacob Zuma, the president of South Africa. He is the equivalent of the KKK. Only the races are reversed. I will make my point right here. Jacob Zuma, president of South Africa, Marshall, if you could cue up, you're not going to be able to, number 30, you're not going to be able to understand, so I have the actual translation of this song. Last year, and we're not talking about, before all this Nelson Mandela stuff in 1990. We're talking about last year. 2012, and the same guy who did the sign language at the memorial did the sign language for this song. It's in a stadium. A lot of people there. Jacob Zuma is singing a song about killing the white man. Go ahead and play this, Marshall. I'll see if I can translate it as it's playing. You can play it somewhat low. Power. Come together, all the winners. Power for us. We are going to shoot them with the machine gun. They are going to run. We are going to shoot them with the machine gun. You are a Boer, white man farmer. We are going to hit them. And you are going to run. Shoot the Boer. And it goes on and on and on. You can phase that out, Marshall. You can only listen to so much of it. The president of South Africa exhorting people in a stadium who are dancing and singing along to kill the white man last year. But, Mandela was a complex figure. The problem here with not being outraged at this elevation to sainthood is that we're talking about the rewriting of history. That's not okay. It's not okay to allow others to rewrite history that you know to be false, but are not willing to speak it, forcefully for whatever reason. And here in this country, we have the same thing at work with Barack Obama. People are not willing to say who he is for fear of the race card.
You is a racist. Yes, I said it. You is a racist.
And I would submit that the reason that there are conservatives out there like Joel Pollack at Breitbart, could not believe the crap he wrote, that there are conservatives out there on the right who are not willing to speak the truth about Nelson Mandela because the man was black. That's succumbing to everything that they accuse those elected into power on the Republican side of the aisle of doing. It's pretty easy to say, they're not fighting Obama because he's black. Well, why are they doing this crap about Nelson Mandela? Is it because he was black? I mean, look, there's no difference between Bill Ayers and Nelson Mandela, except one became president of South Africa and they have different skin color. Other than that, pretty much the same. Yet Bill Ayers is suffering from terrorist racial discrimination, and Mandela is being elevated to sainthood. If I was Bill Ayers, I'd be pretty hacked off. Well, that was just Jacob Zuma. That's not Mandela. Au contraire, mon frère. Marshall, number 31. This is Nelson Mandela with a group of Africans, South Africans, and I thought I had the clip here, or the translation here, but it looks like I may have not grabbed it. Well, in essence, I don't think I have it here. Nope, I don't have it. In essence, this is a very similar song, and I'll just play a little bit of it, about killing the white man. Go ahead and play this, Marshall. All right, you fade that out. Fade that out. All right, the video of that is Nelson Mandela and this group of people. They're all standing there with their fists in the air. Okay, this is after he was released from prison and reconciled, with his fist in the air, singing about killing the white man in his native language. Immediately after, or shortly after, singing that, and it's hard to tell if he was singing or just standing there. It wouldn't be surprising to me that he didn't sing because of the situation he was in, but he was expressing solidarity with those who were singing it. Now listen to, that was from a news clip or a documentary. 31, Marshall. This is shortly after Mandela and these whatchamacallits sang that Kill the White Man song. Listen. 31. I'm sorry, 32, yeah.
Mr. Mandela, can you tell us how you feel visiting this spot at this time?
It is a very emotional moment for us. That those who are fighting for democracy, for peace, for love among South Africans should be mowed down by those who fear democracy.
Peace, democracy, and love amongst South Africans are fine words in English, but the Xhosa words of the just sung song just don't tally. How does one who speaks Xhosa and English explain away the contradiction between what the people sing from the very depth of their hearts in Xhosa and what is declared or volunteered in English?
Don't let this guy be elevated to sainthood. I'm not saying don't advocate for it. I'm saying don't let it happen. Speak out against it. Educate people on this guy. Otherwise, 20, 30 years from now, there's going to be streets named after him. There's going to be buildings named after him. There's going to be legislation, who knows, whatever else, named after him. And if you dare say anything critical of him, you're going to be branded a racist. So instead of fearing being branded a racist by speaking the truth about him now, you won't be able to speak the truth about him down the road because of the rewriting of history that the left is determined to do. Marshall, how much time do we have? There was a guy named Peter Hammond of Frontline Ministries. He's a South African minister. He goes out in the bad areas. Well, he met with Nelson Mandela, number 33, actually 34. He met with Mandela after he led a huge tens of thousands of protests outside Mandela's mansion or whatever. This is him describing the meeting that he held with Mandela. Listen.
One of the things that he said right at the beginning was, "So, Mr. Hammond, what were you doing in the years of struggle?" So I said, "I was fighting people like you, sir." And he laughed and said, "I'm so glad to meet an honest white man." He reached out and shook my hand again, laughing away. He said, "All the whites I've met so far said how they always supported me and opposed apartheid. I wondered how the National Party stayed in power for all those years when everyone supported me." So I said, "Well, make no mistake, Mr. President, we were not fighting for apartheid. We were fighting against communism and against terrorism." So he leaned back and he said, "Apartheid was the greatest evil in the history of the world." So I said, "Well, I cannot agree with that, Mr. President. I think that prize must go to your friends and supporters, the communists. The 20th century is littered with the corpses of 160 million people, conservative estimate. Not killed in war by foreign governments, killed in peace by their own people. I'm talking about 160 million people, civilians, murdered by secular, humanist, atheistic, Marxist regimes in the 20th century."
After that meeting with Mandela, Hammond was, within days, he was greeted by Mandela's thugs, the Internal Revenue Service of South Africa, otherwise known as the Inland Revenue Service. He didn't back down to Mandela in that meeting. and he was audited for 13 years for having done so. He prayed over Mandela while he was in that meeting, much to Mandela's disgrace. The guy refused to have his photo taken with Mandela. IRS. IRS scandal. Sending your thugs after people? Hey, Boehner, are you kidding me? Go after Obama on the IRS scandal instead of the conservatives, you wacko. Come on back next week. Let's talk about something important.